I migrated to Australia when I was in 1988. I was 6. So you can probably do the maths and figure out how old I am. It was actually during the Seoul Olympics. I think many of you guys, especially students, probably weren't even born then. So, there was a big migration period then out of Korea, South Korea, and I guess my family was one of them. I went to a very average primary school called Hornsby South Primary School. I live on the North Shore. And I finished up there in 1994. I went to a public high school education, which is actually different to what's actually mentioned on the leaflets, but that's okay. And yeah, out of that, I was fortunate enough to get into UTS University of Technology Sydney, where I spent a torturous 5 to 6 years doing that course and came out with a Bachelor in Electrical Engineering degree and a Diploma in Engineering Practice. Hobbies? Basketball. I've been playing since I was 8. I still play now. I played representative for Hornsby for about 3 years when I was younger. And it's actually allowed me to travel to a lot of places playing amateur level. I've actually been to Taiwan, Japan, China, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and I think this year we're going to LA. So it's actually allowed me to pick up another hobby of mine, which is traveling, and I love traveling. It really just expands the person's ability to think outside the square, I think, when you see different cultures. Bit of a weird mixed one. Technology and gadgets. Since I was young, I really liked technology and gadgets. I think our world's changed. I mean, people date and find their respective partners on Facebook, have long distance relationships via Skype, chat and email. I know some of you guys are laughing because you're probably doing it. But look, we live in an enhanced, unified, rapid and dynamic culture and life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, advancements in life with technology. So that really puzzled me, and I was really interested in it. And out of my own time, I really was interested in just like looking at the latest gadgets and technology. Why the career choice? First of all, we're going to look at UAI. I know it's called ATAR now. I found this out last week, so apologies about that. But I based my kind of thing on UAI. Okay, UAI traditionally stands for University Admission Index. This gets very confusing. This gets very commonly used as a reference point. For me in high school, it was a reference point used to say, right, that person's better than me, that person's not better than me. And I really thought there was a fundamental issue with this growing up. Look, I didn't do well in my HSC, but I'll explain later how I got to where I am now. I think what you really need to strive is to situate yourself in the best position going into university. So option A, if you know what you want to do, strive for that, aim for that. But if you don't, you know, take yourself out of, you know, have plenty of options for you and, you know, strive to aim for the highest mark. I think they're the two fundamental things to do. So I think of it differently. I think of it as, you can see on the top there, use as is, or use it as it is. So for me, I took this kind of theory and said, okay, you know, I've got into engineering, which I was fortunate, and I want to use it as it is and really strive to do the best I can in this course. Right, how things worked. So these are some of the traits that I went through, which kind of helped me, I guess, make the foundation for what I wanted to do and how I found my career. I always liked how things worked. It was very interesting for me. It was just the intricacy details of how gadgets and technology worked. I was always very interested from a young age. There was even times where I would go to garage sales that was hosted by high schools in LA and get my brother to pick up a typewriter and carry it, because he's stronger than me. And then I'll bring it home, pull it to pieces, and never be able to put it back together again. So I think I really liked how things worked, but I wasn't smart enough to know how to put it back together. So this leads me on to my next little diagram. Nerd versus geek. Okay, geek. I think geek is a technology enthusiast, but a socially smart or enabled person, so they can, you know, socialize and talk and, go to the pub for a beer and have a chat. But just average smart, so they're not super smart. Now, I was always interested and motivated by technology, so I think that put me into the geek sector side of things. But what a nerd is I call it an advanced technology enthusiast. And no offense, like I guess they're a little bit socially inept compared to a geek. But nerds are super smart. They know how to put it back together. So I would break it apart, but they would know how to put it back together and make it better. So, I was always envious of them. But I guess this analysis helped me find out my traits. So I looked at myself and said, okay, I like technology, I'm motivated by it, I like to talk, I like to hang with my friends and socialize, but I'm not smart enough to put it back together and come up with great ideas. So that's what those traits taken into place led me into project management or technology project management, which allows me to work in a field of technology and gadgets, which I'm very driven and motivated for, but I don't have to put it back together. I'm not the one that puts all the bolts back together and I like. So, yeah, I thought that was a really good way to kind of find out what I really wanted to do. Difficulties in high school. Korean life is a 1.5 generation. Most of you guys in here, the students, are what I classify as 2.0, which usually mean that you were born in Australia and raised up in Australia. For me, I was born in Korea and raised up in Australia, so that makes me a 1.5. Life pressures as a 1.5 generation kid was very demanding for me because my parents migrated to Australia to give me and my brother a better life. So in Korea, they would have a very decent job, not have to work labour-intensive jobs, but they came over here for me and my brother for a better life and education. So that's a lot of pressure to have, to kind of say, right, I've got to make this right so my parents are proud of me. I think one thing to really point out is don't forget what your parents have done for you. They do go through a lot of trouble to put you through this education system, so always remember that. Another difficulty, oh sorry, there's a flag there. Another difficulty is, you're going to think this is a bit weird, basketball. And you're thinking, how is basketball a difficulty in high school for me? For me, I wanted to become a pro basketball player. Given my height, I'm not that tall compared to the league that I play in, but everything for me revolved around basketball. I learned a lot from basketball, things like leadership, communication, teamwork, passion and motivation. And they're things that I don't think I could have learned outside basketball or sports. With the constant nagging of my parents in year 11 and 12, I had to let this dream go. Because it was getting all too hard, and I'm not going to be as athletically gifted as some of the black Africans in America. Sorry, African Americans. Sorry, and the time frame to play basketball, I don't have that much. The span of a basketball player is not long because of injuries and I like. So I had to let this dream go. Another difficulty was girls. I was a very shy guy in high school, especially years 7 to 11. All I did was play basketball. I don't know if you know Spalding, it's a brand of a ball. Everybody said that was my girlfriend because I always carried it around in my hand. I actually started going to Matrix in 11 and 12 because of a girl, which led me into creative things because obviously that steered me into the right direction. I actually had a friend in year 10 who asked out a girl for my year 10 form for me. So that's how bad I was. So I guess things have changed now.